Yo, what up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 35 of Just Give Me 5. We're over here in beautiful San Diego, California, filming on the top of Sunset Cliffs right now. You can see this beautiful view behind me, beautiful weather. I mean, it don't get no better than San Diego, really, you know. Coming from Phoenix, you really appreciate this right now, so just lovely, lovely, lovely. And, but yo, if you guys caught episode 34, you saw that we had my man Johnny Ray Diaz on, and let me tell you, that guy has accomplished so much, man. You know, he's really living his dream, and it's just a beautiful situation. And I love when he was talking about how Terminator 2, you know, Judgment Day, how that really inspired him to get into film, because that's one of my favorite movies as well. It's my sister's favorite movie. Like, she loves the Linda Hamilton shotgun scene at the end. It's like, oh God, like, forget about it, right? So I just thought that was great, man. And just to see how much he's evolved and everything he's doing, it's just a beautiful thing, man. You know, so, you know, like I said, man, nothing but continued success to you. And make sure you guys watch episode 34. All right. But today's guest has been a well-known figure in the scene for many, many years now. He's a hell of a DJ, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to speak on how he came up with his name and his history in radio and the Quiet Storm show that he had. This guy's a gem, man, you know, and really just such a humble human being. We're very, very happy to have him on the show today. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Jaba 1.
Hey, what's up? It's Jaba 1, and all I'm saying is, just give me 5. Growing up in San Diego, being a DJ was really, it was you know, you were up there. Those were the guys that held the party down and kept everything going. And I've always loved music. My dad's a musician. My dad raised me on the British invasion stuff. My mom raised me on soul music. And so I just loved all kinds of music growing up. And doing radio wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. But I had a friend who was interning at the stations out here in San Diego, and she's like, I think you would love to do it. I think it's something you'd really enjoy. So back in those days, I literally walked in off the street, and Matlocks was the one who interviewed me. He had dreads past his shoulders, and like, just, this guy was just not what I expected in radio. And Matlocks hired me as an intern back in 1998. And he's one of my best and closest friends to this day, you know. And I ended up being a part of the whole radio game. I didn't want to do it because I hated radio. I hated everything about it, the music, the way the DJs talked. I absolutely hated it. But I wanted to know more about like what it was that made the monster tick, I guess, so I could try to make some changes. And throughout the years, I was fortunate to have a very long radio career working in the San Diego market, moving to Phoenix, working there for a few years, working in Hawaii, and eventually coming back to San Diego. So, like I said, started off as an intern for the longest time. I drove a van, picked up the dry cleaning, things like that. You know, I had to pay my dues. And I was in San Diego for a good chunk of my career, and then I got an offer in Phoenix, moved out there, became the program director of 1011 The Beat and Mega 1043 CRH Broadcasting. When I moved out to Phoenix, it was man, I loved it. I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the people. I loved being there. I wanted to learn more about the history. I started asking about the radio history in Phoenix, who was doing what, the hip hop scene in Phoenix, who was doing what. You know, I learned about the Manic Hispanic. I learned about Melissa, the Midnight Mamacita. I learned about Alex Santamaria. I learned about Poker Face, you know. And that was important. It's important to know the history and the movers and shakers and who was making moves out there before you got there. That's huge. And so it was important for me to figure out who was what. And I've been blessed to make really good friends with a lot of these people and work close with a lot of those folks. Learning what I learned about radio throughout the years here in San Diego, I was able to take that to Phoenix and apply it and try some new philosophies, try some new things. But I worked with CRH Broadcasting, and I love everybody there. You know, there's a lot of ups and downs in radio, and that's just the game. So it's you have to learn to roll with it. The radio circle is very small. It's very incestuous, as people say. Yeah. and the circles overlap in a lot of different ways, whether it's a different market, friend of a friend. It really is like 2 degrees of separation, if that, in terms of everybody within the game. So, you know, one of the things I've learned quick is when it comes to radio, being modest, being humble, and working hard really does go a long way. After I left Phoenix, I went to Hawaii, and I was the production director out there, also doing some music direction as well for a couple stations. And pretty much throughout my whole career, I've been the quiet storm guy, doing slow jams and dedications most of my career. So soul music, slow jams, it's my love and part of what I do. And I was able to take that, apply it to radio, take what I've learned, and try to shape it into what I wanted it or needed it to be. So when I moved to Phoenix, a lot of my friends here, I was very tied in with the b-boy scene here in San Diego, and a lot of my good friends, my family, were telling me, you know, when you get to Phoenix, look for B-Boy House, look for Furious Styles Crew. They run the scene out there, and they were like, you know, let them know you're our boy. They'll take care of you. And the funny thing is, when I first met B-Boy House, he actually kind of brushed me off, which is funny, because that's not him. That's not like him. He's a very kind and genuine person. And I introduced myself, and I was like, hey, you know, so-and-so told me to say what's up. You know, their family, and you know, wanted to meet you. And so I met House. He was cool, but a lot of people were telling me, yeah, when people come to Phoenix, they always look for House. He's usually the first guy, so he gets hit up by a lot of people. So you're just another one of many. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Throughout the time that I was there in Phoenix, I wanted to volunteer my time for a lot of b-boy events, a lot of hip-hop events, DJing, things like that, in a sense of, so that I can give back to the community. That was what I wanted to do. And I think House saw that in me, that I would volunteer a lot of times. I would do DJ gigs and not get paid, just because I wanted the money to go back into the event, the people that are helping to put it on. Also, again, you know, as a new kid in the city, who am I to ask to get paid to do a DJ event? As time went on, I was asked to help and be a part of the Furious Styles anniversary. Everybody who was there in town, they came in and presented me with a shirt and a hat. Nice. And pretty much welcomed me into the family. And I got to shout out the Furious Styles crew in Denmark, because they were actually the ones who heard me spin and were telling House, you know, we want to nominate this guy as become a member. Now it's been 6 years later, and only, you know, coming up on 6 years, and it's amazing how fast time flies. But to be a part of Furious Styles, it means everything to me. You know, they're community oriented. They do a lot for the people, for the community, and that was important to me. You know, to give back and to help as much as I could. And doing what they do, it was exactly where I wanted to be. So as far as becoming a DJ, like I said, you know, DJs in San Diego were a huge inspiration to me in terms of who was doing the parties and who was setting the vibe. And I would watch what they did, how they moved, who was doing what, and it was inspiring to me. I was always the super duper hip hop kid growing up.
Yeah.
And I had, yeah, right? I had crates of records before I even had turntables, because that was the hip hop thing to do. It got to the point where I was like, well, I have all these records, but I have nothing to play it on. Yeah. And my cousin's a DJ in LA, and he says, look, I got an extra pair of 12s in my closet. I'm looking for a pair of speakers. Mm-hmm. And coincidentally, I had a pair of Sirwin Vega speakers. Traded him that. He gave me the turntables, and that was how I started in 1998, which also was around the time that I started radio. And it made sense, because the station that I went to intern at, which was Magic 92.5 here in San Diego, when I met Matlocks actually. The station that was here was an urban station. So in 1998, they had changed format, and they literally were dumping boxes, big, like 3x3 size boxes of records, vinyl. And they literally putting it on the sidewalk and had a sign that said free. And being the hip hop kid, I was like, oh, I'll Be Sure, cool. Tribe Called Quest, cool. You know, Leaders of the New School, cool. And I'm taking all the vinyl. Had I known back then what I know now, I would have just taken all the boxes.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, as a hip hop kid, I wanted to just cherry pick what I could.
Yeah.
So I picked all the music. I had all this stuff. Now I had turntables. Now I had music. I'm working in radio. It's like, okay, let's put it together, make something happen.
Right.
That was when I picked up DJing and just decided, okay, well, let's go do this. Let's share the craft, I guess. And that was the plan. For me, it was more about having a shared experience with an audience, more so than it is about the person that was up there. You know, at the end of the day, I felt like people didn't care too much later as time went on about who was up there, you know, which changed a lot with Serato and programs like that.
Right.
That gave me more clarity in the sense that, like I said, it was more about sharing an experience with the audience, more so than it was about being the man. To this day, I still carry that philosophy with me, in that it's all about having fun and just sharing the music, you know, going back to the essence and the roots of why we did what we did, why we got into hip hop in the first place. And it's like, okay, well, let's share the craft and have fun and let the egos go and let's just do it. You know, I feel like it's that one time and moment when everybody is on the same page. Ooh, man. Again, as a hip hop kid, I really wanted to be a part of the culture in some way, somehow. My way into that growing up was through graffiti art and dancing, you know, b-boying, freestyle dancing, all that. So I've always had a love of music. I've always had a love of the culture, and I just didn't have the money to have all the expensive equipment. Right. So when I was growing up as a kid, I'd go buy streakers from the office supply store, cut those up and run around the neighborhood and just get busy with those, you know. Yeah, it was, I had a few different names growing up, but one of my OGs was always telling me, you know, you want to make sure that you have a name that conveys something before anybody even meets you, you know. And it's funny because when I first started writing, one of my first names was Onyx, like the rap group.
Oh, wow.
And it's because I named myself after Onyx the Birthstone Kid from KMD.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I love KMD, and I didn't put it together that it was, you know, the color, you know, Onyx and like. I just thought it was a dope name. I love the letters. And so that's what I was writing initially when I started doing graffiti. And it's also because I wanted people to not know who I was or, you know, what I looked like. And they had this idea of who Onyx was. And as time went on, I later changed it to Jaba, which was kind of a spin off of the Star Wars character, obviously, but at the same time, I don't spell it the same way. So I wasn't too much into Star Wars. I'm more of a G.I. Joe guy.
Yeah.
To this day, I still am. But, you know, that was kind of where the name came about. There was a guy in my neighborhood who used to write jazz. And I don't know who he is or where he went, but I loved his hands. I loved his style when he would write his name. There was another guy in my neighborhood, he wrote Chama. And I loved his hand styles and the way he wrote it. And so I kind of took jazz, Chama, Jaba, mixed it all up, messed with some letters. And that's where I came up with the name. And then when I started DJing, everybody already knew me as Jaba. So the name just stuck. I didn't have to come up with a DJ name necessarily. It was more just, oh, who's on the tables? Oh, it's Jaba. Oh, okay, cool. And
Yeah.
that was how the name came about. I wish I had a different DJ name, to be quite honest. But no, that's kind of the story of how it came about. It's funny because when I saw that question as something that you were going to ask, it was a very hard question for me to I guess to wrestle with, in a sense.
Yeah. That's why I do it.
Yeah. It's a, you know, I've watched other people's answers. I've watched, I've kind of studied that, and I even with that, I didn't really know how to answer that. Growing up, you got punched in the mouth if you're arrogant, and you learn pretty quick. You learn pretty quick to humble yourself on a lot of different levels. And again, going back to my philosophy on why I do what I do, it's less about being special for me and more about sharing the craft and just having fun. I feel like there are indeed people that are special, and there's people that I hold in that regard. I personally just feel as though I'm one of the many that is just part of this world. I know that I'm loved. I don't have a question. I don't question that at all. My family reminds me of that on a daily. My girlfriend reminds me of that on a daily. I have amazing friends and people within the culture that remind me of that daily, and I don't take that blessing for granted at all. But there have been a lot of issues and a lot of things in my life that have made it difficult for me to, I guess, accept that love. And not to say that I don't feel deserving of it, but it's I guess it's hard to kind of explain that, because it does mean so much to you. It's so deeply ingrained in who I am and what I do, the love that I receive, and I don't want to say accolades, but the love that I receive from my friends and my family. It means more than I can really express in words. And if you're talking in terms of love for me on what I do, again, I don't see it as that. I see it more as, again, me sharing the craft and having fun. Because the people that I idolized growing up, whether it be in radio or whether it be DJing or within the hip hop culture in general, I could never reach that level, never. You know what I mean? They're at such a high level. They've set the bar, and all I want to do is be a part of that and share, I guess, my version of that. And so I hope that people love it. I hope people love what I do. But it's really, to me, it's more about sharing the experience and making sure that we all have fun together. You know what I mean? Having fun to me is really the basis of everything I do. Life is short, man. Life is really short. And I escaped death twice in the last 3 years, and that's a whole nother story, man. And the one thing that I've learned is that, first of all, you're not on your own time. Somebody else calls the shots. You know what I mean? I'm not a religious person, but there's somebody that calls the shots, and it ain't us. And that being said, again, your life on this earth is very limited. It's very short. So I've always just tried to live it as best as I could and have as much fun with it as I could. And hopefully I can share that love and fun experience with my loved ones as well. I think that's probably the best way I could answer that question. Shout outs, man. Thanks to you, Dave, Mr. Miranda, and Jimmy. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be a part of this project. And I just want to shout out my family. My family knows who they are. If I've called you fam, if you called me fam, and we were good like that, it's my family. I wouldn't be here without my friends and my family and the people that have touched my life. And for that, I just want to shout them out and say thank you. And at this point, again, thank you for letting me be a part of this. And let's keep building.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my man Jaba. Man, known him for a long time now. Always been a good soul, and he's done so much, man. And he's just always willing to help other people. And you saw that today, so Nothing but love and respect to you, my brother, and I can, continue to wish you the best. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. Shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. And man, this was another great one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And speaking of the word enjoy, we're gonna continue enjoying this. This is something we're gonna continue enjoying, at least for a day, you know what I mean? So don't forget to smile, and always remember, all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough, just as long as you do all you can do. So until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy. Just give me 5, y'all.